نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Yesterday we looked at what the Sharia says about the concept of backbiting, what the Quran says, what the Ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ says. What is actual ghibah? What comes under the terminology? Are there things that you're allowed to speak about? So I'm not talking about situations, I'm talking about things. Are there certain things that you're allowed to speak about in reference to a certain person behind their back? What is ghibah? The ulama, they define ghibah as أن تذكر أخاك بما يكرهه لو بلغه. To mention something about your brother or sister that they would dislike if they were to hear that. So number one, they're not there. Ghibah can't take place if you're speaking directly to a person about them. So they're not there. Number two, if what you are saying was to be conveyed to them, or they were to hear about what you were saying, then it would cause them upset. They would be hurt by that. They wouldn't like what you were saying. سواء ذكرته بنقص في بدنه أو نسبه أو في خلقه أو في فعله أو في قوله أو في دينه أو في دنياه حتى في ثوبه وداره ودابته. The ulama then say that irrespective of whether you mention a deficiency in this person's body, his bodily form, short, tall, overweight, underweight, skinny, anorexic, whatever it is, to speak about somebody's jism, number one, أو نسبه, his lineage or her lineage, his akhlaq, his or her actions, her speech, their religious, في دينه, to speak in respect of their religion, أو في دنياه, or to speak about their worldly affairs in a manner that if that was to reach them or to be conveyed to them, it would upset them. So many of us, we think that ghibah is only in respect to if I say something bad about someone, that they're an evil person. But no, anything that might upset somebody. Anything, to the point that if you speak about their clothing, it's mentioned here, حَتَّى فِي ثَوْبِهِ وَدَارِهِ وَدَابَّتِهِ. If you speak ill about their clothing, their house, their residence, that you and friends are talking, God has a really, house isn't, let's say something about the house, or their ride, the mount, subhanallah. Now, we don't have mounts, we don't have camels and horses, but to speak about someone's car in a negative way. The point being that whatever you say, irrespective of what it's about, if that reaches that person and that causes that person upset, then it's classified as ghibah. And all the ahadith that we looked at beforehand, the verse of the Quran that says it's akin to eating the flesh of your dead brother then applies. Doesn't matter if it's something grotesque. You might even consider it trivial. This is what's important. When you're talking about somebody, you might think it's not a big thing. But if it hurts the other person, then it's kabir indallah. According to the Sharia, it's big. So whether you and I consider what we're discussing a trivial matter or a significant matter, the fact that it's done behind the person's back and it's going to upset them, it will upset them, then that is classified as ghibah. And that's very, very, it's the terminology and what comes under the scope of ghibah now is very broad, extremely broad. And that's why I said yesterday, most of our conversations, once we get together with 2 or 3 people, there are elements of ghibah that come inside. Because it's so broad. The terminology and what defines ghibah is so great. There are so many dimensions to it that the smallest of what we may think conversation that we're having with somebody about somebody else doesn't. Now again, I've already hinted to the fact, and we've spoken about what you say has to be truthful as well. That's when it comes in the ghibah. Because if what you say is actually false, is not true, then you've added another sin to your list. You've slandered the person. فَقَدْ بَهَتَّ. The Prophet ﷺ said, there's a hadith, and I'll go over the hadith, that the Prophet ﷺ, he said, هَلْ تَدْرُونَ مَا الْغِيبَةِ? Do you know what ghiba is? They said, قَالُوا اللَّهُ وَرَسُولُهُ عَلَمْ. Ya Rasulullah, Allah and His Messenger know the most. This statement is also, I'm sorry, I do digress a lot, but that's just my habit. This statement, Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam, is very important. Extremely important. Whenever the Prophet ﷺ asked the Sahaba something, they didn't try to become intellectual in front of the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ inquired as to what do you think? They would say, Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam. Immense subtlety in terms of seeking knowledge and how to seek knowledge. And it's a lesson for us. Once I was with my shaykh and my teacher, and he said to me that what's happening, the recession, this is when the recession just kicked in. I said, what's the cause for it? And so I tried to be clever, and I started giving him, this happened, and he looked at me, he smiled. I said, no need for all this. This is the result of interest. Khalas. This is the result of a usurist community that is dependent on, and it functions off of interest. And the result of this is why economies break down, except there isn't continued success. So the Sahabas, they taught us this, that Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam. Whenever they were asked by the Prophet, Allahu wa Rasuluhu alam. So the Prophet ﷺ then responded, ذِكْرُكَ أَخَاكَ بِمَا يُكْرِهُ. Ghiba is for you to mention something about your brother that he dislikes. So then they question, Ya Rasulullah, أَرَأَيْتَ إِنْ كَانَ فِي أَخِي مَا أَقُولُ. What if what I'm saying is actually present in the person? Meaning it's true, what I'm saying is truthful. قال إن كان فيه ما تقول فقد اكتبته. That if what you are saying is true, then you've done his ghiba. That is when you've done his ghiba. Because وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ فِيهِ فَقَدْ بَهَتَّ. If what you have said is not factual, then you have actually slandered this person. You've made an accusation that can't be substantiated. So ghiba is actually saying something truthful, but the crux being, the person isn't there. And if that person was to find out about it, it would hurt that person. And second, in today's lesson, so that's the definition, the hudud of what is considered ghiba. Second, ghiba is not just something that's done by the tongue. It can be actions. If you and someone else make an ishara towards another person. Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, she was sitting and a lady came to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, to Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha. She had a conversation with Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, then she got up to leave. And so Aisha radiallahu ta'ala went like this. She made an indication with her hand to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that she's short. That's all she did. She indicated, she didn't even verbalize it, she raised her hand to say that she's not that tall. The Prophet ﷺ immediately said, you've done her ghiba. Even indicating where two people, they know the situation of what they're talking about and they make ishara and indicate towards one another to talk about somebody else, it's ghiba. You write something, in our case you send a text message, it's considered ghiba if it's about somebody else. If the two people know who they're speaking about, you don't even have to take the name. Sometimes we try and be clever. Well, I didn't mention the person's name. You know exactly who you're talking about. The person you're speaking to knows who you're talking about, knows exactly your intention. But you try to be clever and say, I'm not going to take the name of the person. So it's still ghiba. If you know and the person knows, it's still ghiba. So ghiba is very broad. And that's why the Prophet ﷺ, we started off with that statement of the Prophet ﷺ, Man samata najah, the one who keeps silent will be saved. Why? There are so many traps to fall in. It's so easy to slip up. So what's better? To keep your mouth closed. keep your mouth shut. As crude as that may sound, but to keep that mouth closed and not open, not verbalize, not need. For some reason we feel a need that at every junction I have to have an input. Everybody is a mufti. Everybody has something to say. Everybody has an opinion on everything. And it's very wrong. I remember once I was gone for Umrah the first time with my parents, and went for ziyarah. And as we're going for ziyarah, I was sitting next to the taxi driver, and after about 30 minutes, he got a bit annoyed. And he turned around to my father and he says, "This guy doesn't speak. What's wrong with him?" And I was just thinking to myself, this is what the hadith tells us, unless it's necessary. Unless we have a reason to. It's not about being antisocial, it's not about not communicating with other people, but wherever there's khair, open your mouth. But if there's no khair, there's no need then. Why you? I guarantee it, if you start speaking in a taxi, all of a sudden it'll turn into Muhammad bin Salman is like this, and this king at this moment is like, what's the need? This person is like this, and this is like that. The shurta are like this, the police are like, no, why? Instead, say a couple subhanallahs and make some trees in Jannah, make your palaces in Jannah, adorn your palace. So easy. The opposite of what you can do is so easy to do, but we waste our time for very, very foolish purposes. There are so many traps that are laid there for us with the tongue. So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Man samata naja." You keep that mouth under control and you exercise. The Salafus Salihin, the ascetics of the past, they would have different types of fasts. Like I said, I spoke about the ummahs of the previous nations. Even from this ummah, many of the Salafus Salihin, they would practice this element of just not speaking, except when they had to. Just don't talk. The less you speak, the less trouble you get yourself into. And when I mean trouble, I mean with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, ghiba is very broad, extremely broad. It's not just about something that we consider evil. It could be something that I don't think, even for myself, I might think speaking about this particular thing is not bad for me, but it might be bad towards somebody else. And if that person is offended by it, then you're answerable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You've done his ghiba. Just because you're not offended by something doesn't mean somebody else isn't. If somebody speaks about your physical body, you're okay with it, that's fine. Somebody else might not be. And if you do that, and that is something that they're offended by, even if that doesn't reach them, you've done the ghiba. Speaking about people's, like I said, their clothing, something that most of us would have never thought about. Someone's house, someone's car, everybody has a right, their honor. Islam speaks about everybody's personal honor. كل المسلم حرام على المسلم دمه وماله وعرضه. His honor is his right. The honor of a believer is their right. There is no way that you or I have that permission to take from that honor. And what offends them offends them. Not everybody is the same. Not everybody is the same. What offends me might not offend you. What offends you might not offend me. But doesn't give us the right to take from that honor. So the Prophet ﷺ, this concept of ghiba, it's extremely broad. It's not limited to the tongue as well. Any way that you communicate to others about a third person, that would be something that affects them, it's considered ghiba in the Sharia. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect myself. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you the tawfiq to protect yourselves. Save us from this disastrous sin of ghiba, which again will come back to haunt us on the Day of Judgment. Allah protect us all. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanallah bihamdik, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. No energy for questions right now. For that. Sure.